This video is sponsored by Squarespace. On my last trip, I spent 5 days on a little protected island here in Denmark trying to get my first photographs of the badgers in snow. I used a camera trap, but I was not successful. I had to go home empty-handed. This time I'm in my photo blind, trying to capture photos of the craws. These birds are incredibly shy, and my tactic is to go down there the night before and sleep there so that the birds will not be aware of me being there, and hopefully that can give me some great opportunities. Jeg skal blive her. Nej, kom. Nej, ind med dig. Skal du have vand? Så Bjørn. Vent. Se der. This time I'm here to photograph ravens and craws. You can go, go. Yeah, put this on. Yeah. But in Denmark, especially in the countryside, away from the towns, they are really shy because they have been hunted for decades. Now the ravens are protected, but it's still, if you hunt an animal for so long, they will be afraid of people. So now I'm trying another strategy, because I suspect that when I come in the early morning, they are sitting around and either they hear me or they see me, because they are sitting in the trees during the day and they don't come down on the ground. So this time, this strategy is to be here now. It's about 5 in the evening, and then I just want to sleep here, and then, you know, the night will be there, and hopefully the birds will forget everything about that I'm here. And then in the early morning, when the first light comes, I'm already here, ready with the camera, ready with everything. No noise, no light, no sounds, no what to say, headlamp or anything. I'm just ready to photograph the birds. this was just incredible. Like, this is the first time ever, and I mean, I've been in this photo blind for a lot of hours and a lot of days, the last like 4 or 5 years, and I've never seen a heron here, but now I have, and I got photos of it and I got video of it. I feel so lucky. And I have seen a lot of craws, no ravens but craws, and a lot of them. So the tactic about going here in the night and sleep in the blind definitely paid off. So yeah. It's almost completely dark outside and all the birds are gone, but I can still hear the magpies sitting in the bushes and making their like special sound. I really love that. I really feel grateful for the photos I got today, and also for seeing all the crows and the heron and the magpie and the jays and buzzard. It has been such a great day. I can't remember such a great day in the blind. It has been the best day in the blind for a long time. Really nice. Now I'm going to pack my stuff and it's time to go home. And yeah, what a day. So it turned out to be a very successful technique, sleeping in the blind to photograph the craws. And in this behind the scenes, I'm going to talk a little about that. I'm going to talk how I taught my dog to actually go in the blind without making noises, and I'm also going to tell how I wake up in the blind with the phone ringing without scaring the animals, and a little about attracting bird with the sound from the phone. So yeah, let's get started. Before we move on, I want to thank Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Squarespace lets you build professional looking websites without any knowledge about coding and web design. You simply choose one of the many great looking templates, and by dragging and dropping photos and changing the text and colors, you can make it your own. You can create beautiful galleries to showcase your work, and it's very easy to update the gallery with your latest photos. It also has built-in e-commerce, so you can start selling your prints, calendars and digital products. So if you need a new website, head over to squarespace.com to start your 14 days free trial. And you can use the off code Morten Hilmer to get 10% off your first purchase. I've put a link in the description. I have been trying for a long time to photograph these craws, and the only times I've had success was like going down there 2 hours before it really started, even started to get light. And that means that this time of the year I basically have to go down there at 4 o'clock in the morning, and that just gives me a bad sleep because I cannot go to bed at 7 or 8 and just fall asleep. So I decided to try this technique, and I basically went down there, had a really good night's sleep, and then I woke up in the morning with my phone about half an hour before the light started, and then everything was just perfect. I got the craws, I got the buzzard and the heron, and it was really fantastic. So a few things on that. I think it's very important to just be comfortable, because if you go out there without food or anything, you know, you will get tired and it's just boring. So I brought a good book, I brought a good sleeping mat, a good sleeping bag, some coffee, tea, and just had a great time with Björn, my dog, who's lying just down there in front of the oven. Another thing is to get up in the morning. You need an alarm clock apparently, because I do not wake up like so early. A little technique I used. Let me try to set my alarm. It's look, the badger. It reminds me of it's soon spring and all the things I have to do. Let me just try to set the alarm, and then it will ring in a little bit, and you can hear for yourself how I do this. Because when you have I always have my phone on silent, or I have the fly mode on, because I do not want to get distracted by MMS messages ticking in, or you know, because when you are bored, I think at least here in 2021, most people tend to take their phone and start to faff around, and I do not want to do that, because I will miss the moment. I will get sucked in by the phone. Good morning, it says. Listen, it's beautiful. This is the blackbird, and I came up with that idea like quite a few years ago, because I was always annoyed because maybe I promised to keep an appointment, and I asked my friends to call me if I forgot, because. And then I you know, when it's bzz, bzz, and ringing, and you know, submarine alarm thing going on, you know, the animals will know that you're there. So basically what I did was to download some bird recordings, and I just used them as ringtones on the phone. And that's pretty smart, because then I have the blackbird for a wake-up call, and if I need messages, I have the nightingale or a seagull or something like that, some of the birds that's out there. And that is pretty smart, but I think having these ringtones or just, you know, for waking up will not disturb the birds. And then on the other hand, what I was about to talk about was to actually put the phone in flight mode, because it is too tempting when you're boring to sit and faff around, and I just tend to lose the moment there. So that was about the waking up thing. Another thing is you have probably seen, I have Björn in the blind, and when he was a little one, I took him always in my backpack when I was out photographing, because then he would not disturb the birds. And then when I was sitting photographing, he was getting used to it, and he was always with me in the blind. And then he can look out the window, he can see the birds, and then sometimes I give him a little treat and ask him to lie down, and then because it's normal for him, then he does not react on the sound of the birds. And if he starts to react, I try to get his attention, and I ask him to sit. I have learned him some silent signs, so when I do like so, he sits. If I do like this, he will lie down, and then when he do that, I give him a treat, and then his attention is away from the animals. So that was a little about how I have the little fellow with me out in the field. Last thing is you can hear this blackbird singing, and quite a few years ago I started using that to attract birds when you in the mating season, or if you play a bird on your phone, that birds will usually come to protect its territory. But I do not use that anymore, or that means I only use it if there's a purpose that is greater than just me getting a photograph I can share on Instagram or something like that. I need to serve a decent purpose, like if I'm working with a scientist or something like that. Because it is very efficient. But when I started photography, it was you went down to the photo store and bought 10 rolls of films, and then on a good day you would maybe use 2 rolls of film. Then you have to go home and to develop the film and wait 3 days, and you got your dias, or your photos, and you could sit there with a light table and look at them and select a few. There was not the internet, so you could not share them except from a few times during the year when you would meet up in the photo association and show the 5 or 10 good photos you could show on the big screen. Today it's different. The reason why I'm telling this story is because today it's different. At that point it was so hard to photograph. It was hard to learn to photograph because you had to wait 3 days to see the result. It was more like you have to learn all the aperture, shutter speed, all that kind of stuff to basically being able to make a decent photo. And then you had nowhere to share it. So there were not so many photographers at that point. And today it's easy. Today, luckily, it's easier today because more people can get out in nature and have these great experiences. But the downside is that there are so many of us, so many photographers. So when you, at that point, let's say you go out to, there's one photographer, you go out to the fox den once a week for a few hours, and then you go back. That fox will only get disturbed once a week for a few hours, and everything will be fine. But if there are 50 photographers in the area, you know that everyone goes out 2 hours every day or once a week to that fox. The point is just, we are so many nature photographers. We have such a huge impact on nature, and it's just my opinion. We also have to think a little further than our own needs, because nature cannot speak for itself. It cannot vote. It cannot do anything. It can just be there. And it 100% depends on our behavior and the way we treat it. So I tend to think like using these sounds for birds is stressing the bird, because the reason why they come is because the male thinks there's an intruder, another bird of the same species, and he wants to scare him away. And they have a busy time, and there's no reason for making them even busier. So I just want to mention that it's a good technique and it can be used. But at the same time, you probably knew that already, but at the same time, I want to say, think twice before you just start to use all these tools that we have available to attract the wildlife. So yeah, I think that was it for now. I'm looking forward to sharing the next projects I'm working on now with you. And the spring is here, it's awesome, and yeah, there's so much going on. But take care, and see you out there.